Well, Famous Brands is the leading quick service restaurant group in South Africa, selling marketing, services and manufactured products to its franchisees. Its main divisions are Steers, Wimpy, Debonair's, Mug and Bean, Fisherways and The Keg. It has a market cap of 7 billion rand, a price to earnings ratio of 26 and a dividend yield of 2.8. Famous Brands, is this really, if you want to play the fast food environment, is this the brand to go for?
It's definitely the market leader in this country, and it's one of those great corporate stories about how, application meets opportunity. Because it was started by the Gilmour family, that was the original Steers concept, and then AVI wanted to sell Wimpy at some point. They geared up, they used a lot of borrowed money in order to do it. They brought in Kevin Hedderwick as an external kind of management guru, and it just has exploded. So as credit extension in the sort of lower income market in South Africa grew, as lots of people were employed, as lots of people found increases in the public sector, it's really just positioned itself perfectly. Wimpy has been a huge success. The development of those roadside ultra cities and one stops and all those things have also been big in terms of turnover. And they've really rolled it out into these associated brands. So just a huge non-stop train going higher. And a
huge non-stop train when it comes to the share price. Had you bought in at 20 Rand at the beginning of 2008, you would now be smiling with some 80 Rand.
I mean, even from this year, Bronwyn, this thing's gone exponential. It's fascinating. Opinions are a bit divided in the fast food industry, because if you talk to some people, they will say, no, you've got to stick to your knitting and be very focused on one brand. But that's where, as Paul says, Kevin Hedderwick came in and changed perceptions entirely. And it's amazing the kind of ideas they have for the future as well. I mean, by no stretch of the imagination have they stopped.
So they're going to continue to acquire business. Is that what you mean by...
They're going to acquire businesses. The only problem there is that the number of businesses available that would make any meaningful difference to a company of this size now are not they're very few and far between.
What about their Africa opportunity?
Yeah, that is big as well, and I think that's sort of early days. But just to come back to the South African thing, there were two other things that happened. Firstly is the development of all these mini malls. When we talk about the property discussion, that comes up a lot. So all of the small towns got these mini malls just outside of town. That's another big opportunity to come in with a fresh new offering. And then finally, because of employment equity, quite a lot of senior people with quite big retirement packages, retiring early out of the corporate sector, looking for something new to do. So what better thing to do than to take 1 million rand or whatever it is and open up a fast food joint. And as a result, some quite good people with quite good management skills also coming to the fore. I think they're going to continue to do well, and I think the Africa story, continues to be their opportunity. But understand their main opportunity really is to go head to head with the global brands. So that's where the KFCs and the McDonald's of the world come in. That's their real opportunity. Do you agree with Paul there that their real opportunity is the Africa story?
Oh, absolutely. They've been in Africa for quite some time. Up until fairly recently, they've had to fly the burgers in, which is a really expensive sort of exercise. But no, I mean, there's major opportunity.
There must be logistical nightmares about flying the burgers in as well.
Totally. No, you're quite right. But I mean, I think now as you start getting better road systems coming into play, as you get greater awareness of the brands, it makes an awful lot of sense. And it's not restricted to the likes of famous brands. You're getting the KFCs, for example, Yum Foods, they're going into Africa as well.
The model used to be just the franchising, right? And then you would put supply arrangements in place. But more and more now what they're doing is they're, for example, buying, pork ribs and doing the processing themselves. They're doing the sort of sauces, and the fries are being pre-processed. So in effect, what that does is it shifts the model.
And then supplied to their franchisees.
Exactly. So it gives them more revenue, more margin opportunity. And I think that's also what people have been realizing, that at the 7 billion rand mark, while Famous Brands looks quite well and has done quite well, it's still relatively small with lots of opportunity to deepen its own model. Because if you look at what McDonald's does for its franchisees, it's a much bigger, more integrated operation.
Hot or not on Famous Brands, Chris?
I have to qualify the statement by saying, because the share price has gone so exponential literally in the past few months, that the value isn't apparent anymore on a short-term view. Notwithstanding that comment, I think this in the longer term is still a very hot stock.
A hot stock, and from your perspective?
Yeah, I'm happy to go hot on it. It's a personal holding of mine. I think the Gilmour family interests are down to about 40%, and I think that's going to continue to downgrade. And I think it's a stock the foreigners are going to like. Obviously, they've got to continue growing, but for me, certainly well positioned and could definitely go higher.